Hi, it's another episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Many thanks for joining us and welcome. My name is Nathan. Our show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want the biggest payouts, the biggest wins, and just to enjoy an all-round betting experience, Bet Power should be your very good friends. And they are proud sponsors of this show, the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Many thanks for joining us once again. There's a bit of a rest period in the AFCON because the round of 16 is done. We are now deeper into the competition where the stakes are even higher. We are getting ready to get into the last 8 or the quarterfinals of this competition, and it's been fun so far. I'm sure your thoughts on the competitions are varied. Some people are enjoying it, I'm sure others are not. But you can send in your comments on the WhatsApp number on your screen. Would love to go through as many of those comments as possible before the show comes to an end. We'll be talking a lot about the quarterfinals, previewing the teams, looking at each and every one, their journey to this point, and what the future holds for these teams as they get ready to either stay or leave the competition and potentially take one step closer to the trophy. Now, amongst the 8 teams that are left, one will eventually be crowned the new African champions. But who will it be? I don't know, but I'm sure you have a guess out there. So send in your thoughts and comments on the WhatsApp number right there on your screen. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we dive into the show. It's a very interesting show we've got for you today, so stick and stay. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carl. Once again, let me introduce my guest. I haven't seen him all through the competition. I asked him where he's been, but let me welcome Kwame Inimbafo. Kwame, how are you doing?
Hi, Nathan.
Well, typically the roles will be reversed. You better have me on your podcast.
Yes,
and you'll be firing the questions at me. Today the roles are reversed. I get to ask you the questions. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Nathan. How have you been too?
I'm all right. Just, managing a lot of things. You experienced the AFCON in person in Cote d'Ivoire. Just tell me your experience.
Well, it was great. Ivory Coast have put together a very good competition. If you look at the organization, the city, I was in Abidjan because the Black Stars were based in Abidjan, so I didn't have the opportunity to go to the other places. We actually wanted to go to Yamoussoukro, but time didn't permit us. But if you look at the quality of organization in the country, the country itself, the level of development that's been there and how much they've embraced the whole of Africa. Every corner that you've been to, you go to the malls, you go to normal food joints, you go to the markets. Everything has a feel of the Africa Cup of Nations. And you could, if you take 10 people, you would have about 7 of them wearing an Ivory Coast kit. We were there for just 4 days, so it was during the time that Ivory Coast was about to play Nigeria and Ghana about to play Egypt. So the euphoria and everything was there. The country is very beautiful. If you look at their road networks and everything, it's impressive. I don't want to do a comparison, but because they are way ahead in terms of the road networks and everything. It's a very beautiful country. The experience was great. Very welcoming, very amazing group of people around and everything. So I really, really, really enjoyed my time at the Ivory Coast. They are very welcome. It's the language. You are fortunate enough to be very multilingual, so would have navigated. But we made use of our Google Translate a lot more.
That's important.
You go in. There are many times we were driving at some point, so many times we meet an Ivorian policeman and asking for a pass or something. We just didn't get it. We just take our phone, punch in the Google Translate, and then they also take their phone. That was our means of communication at some point. It wasn't easy at all. We have to take our French serious, honestly, because they do well. Speaking a bit of English,
yes, they do.
They do well.
A lot of the francophones actually are very deliberate, and some of them take the pain to come to Ghana.
Exactly.
Pay for classes, stay here and learn.
Yeah.
But we don't. And that's a conversation for another day. But I'm happy you enjoyed it. It
was a great experience. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the preview of the round of 8 or the quarterfinals as we would have it. There are 8 teams that have made it here. I guess it's interesting, for us to look at the 8 teams that are in the competition now versus the 8 teams who were in the last 8 of the previous competition, just to see the difference between the 2 tournaments. And I don't know if we can put that on for our viewers to just get a fair idea of who's made it here and who did not make it here. If you run through, they are new. You can call them newcomers if you like, but 8 different countries coming. So in the tournament that Senegal won, they had Senegal and Equatorial Guinea. You had Egypt and Morocco. You had Burkina Faso and Tunisia. Then you had the Gambia and Cameroon.
Yeah.
Now, 2 years on, the quarterfinal list looks completely different. You have Nigeria and Angola, who will meet. DR Congo will face Guinea. Mali will take on Cote d'Ivoire in a very interesting game that culturally the two countries would love to be involved in. And there's Cape Verde and South Africa, 2 countries who a lot of people did not think would make it here, but have made it, especially the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde. Not a lot of people thought that they had the capability of getting, especially in a group that had Egypt and Ghana, but there they are into the quarterfinals of the competition. Before we even dive into how each one got here, let's have a look at, so this is really the map, the tournament tree, as to who does what, who plays what. We've seen those who have left. Kwame, just your general thoughts on the round of 16 before we look at each team and how they made it here.
Well, the beauty of the AFCON is what we just saw right there from what was projected on the screens. An entirely different set of countries qualifying. I mean, you don't get that. I'm thinking of any competition in the world that, where you have an entirely different set qualifying for the quarterfinals. The defending champions are no more there. I mean, there's a bit of history that has happened since 2010 where the countries that win the competition fail to go beyond the round of 16 and all of that. But it's also strange that you'd have a new set of people, a new set of countries qualifying for the quarterfinals, other than the other teams that qualified for the last edition of the competition. It's something very strange, something very new that we've not experienced. I can't recollect seeing in any major international competition before. It tells you how teams have prepared, how teams have done their best to get to this level without any regard to the other countries, or without showing so much respect to the other countries they feel are better, or they feel have some level of pedigree in the competition and all of that. It's the beauty of the Africa Cup of Nations right today.
We'll see. My other guest has joined us, Sednam Edmond. How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right. We're just sharing thoughts on the round of 16. Just your thoughts on the round of 16 before we look at the teams that have made it to the last 8.
Well, this has been a tournament of surprises. So the round of 16 did not fail to deliver on that promise. We had a lot of big gangs going home on the regular. And for me, it's exciting. It just goes to show that the so-called minnows or quote-unquote underdogs seem to have improved a lot in their game. And it just goes to tell that talent is no longer enough. You need a plan to be able to make a statement in the competition. And for me, it's been fantastic. Some incredible goals. We used to be characterized by incredible goal celebrations. Now it's the goals themselves who are busting and being incredible. For me, it's a tournament that I really wish would not end.
Don't play with the whole year.
Yeah, because just opposite to another tournament going on elsewhere on the globe, and no one seems to even remember that there's something like that going on.
Oh, I mean, the point is that for the people in Asia, it matters to them. This is the AFCON, it matters to us.
But the narrative and the stories around the AFCON have been incredible. Incredible.
I see.
It's. I just can't wait for the next round.
If you look at the international press, I mean, the AFCON is on Sky Sports in Europe. You look at all the other international press, there's the Daily Mail, there's filing reports. I mean, we see all the reports they write about VAR and other things, across, I mean, monitoring all social media platforms. There are 2 competitions, continental competitions going on at the same time, but you see which one a lot of people are following. Or maybe it's my timeline, but you look globally.
I mean, it is true. You speak to colleagues around the world. Everybody seems to be very interested in the AFCON. I guess maybe the profile of African players, that their profiles have gone up. they are now recognizable. But I also think generally the quality levels have really gone up because you can say from 2010, right? If you put together an AFCON like this, you could almost guess the teams that would make, quarterfinals and things. But now it looks very different. Very different. All right, let's start our preview. Let's look at Angola. Now, Angola are a very interesting team. They have made it here. Very, very brave team. Some lovely football they have played. And they've really, really made a strong statement as to what they can. Remember, they hosted a tournament in 2010. They got KO'd by the Black Stars in that very epic game, if you remember. But let's see how the Angolans have fared so far in the 2023 AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. All right, Mabululu scoring that insane goal loaded with crazy technique, giving the Angola. So that was the last goal. At least that's the most recent goal they've scored in the competition up until now. Kwame, let me start off with you. The Angolan journey has been very surprising. They topped their group and they've gone through the round of 16 with relative ease. Yes, it was against Namibia. Granted, they 10 men each, whatever. But they have been impressive.
I mean, if there's one country every Ghanaian would have seen, would be Angola, given that we were in the same group with them in the qualifiers. So we had the opportunity to watch them or profile them one way or the other during the qualifiers. So I haven't been so surprised seeing them. I mean, looking at the qualifiers we played here in Kumasi, going to Luanda to play in that return encounter, I wasn't really surprised. But what has surprised me has been their level of organization in the games that we've watched of them. I mean, their coach Pedro Goncalves clearly seems to have an idea of how they want to play. They've been very intense generally in their approach to play. They've looked very compact. And even beyond that, the coach has found a way to release some level of creativity in the team. And we saw Mabululu there. He's been a key man in the games that they've played so far. A very solid striker, always up front, fighting. I mean, he's got great technique. We saw the goal that he scored. The way he wrapped his legs around the ball to be able to, have that bend onto it to get into the post. I mean, it tells you. He won the penalty against Algeria in that game. Mm-hmm. That was a very good game. If anyone watched that first game against Algeria were very intense in the first 20 minutes. Yeah. But when Angola took hold of the game, especially in the second half, Algeria could barely breathe in that game. It was so charged. It was so intense. They were able to navigate their way, get a draw in that game, then go ahead. One game that really, really impressed me was a game against Burkina. Burkina is also an equally strong side. They've showed how great they are over the period of time in the AFCON. But in that third game, you expected, Burkina knew they would qualify, but you'd expect that it would be a very difficult game for Angola. But Angola really took that game by the scuff of this thing, and they were able to, show us a lot more of what they are made. They've also grown in the tournament. In the game against Namibia, where they went down by a man, when Neblu, unfortunately, had to, commit that blunder and that got him sent off in the game. You would expect. I was like, what? This is a test for me to see the other side of Angola, and truly, true to it, down by a man.
They took the lead.
Their quality didn't drop. They were far more intense even when they went down by a man. And they went and had the lead in that game until Namibia decided, okay, we'll also go down by a man to square it up and see how things are going. And from there, when it became even, they just took over the game, scored right from the free kick that sent out the man, and then that's the quality. That's the quality that you'd expect. So they are one team I've really been impressed. I'm sure we'll preview the game against Nigeria, and I've heard a lot of people say, Nigeria. I'm like, I was in a WhatsApp group and someone said, this is going to be easy for Nigeria. I'm like, are you sure you've watched Angola? If you've really watched...
People shouldn't get deceived by the name Angola. Some of the football they have played in this competition.
The quality... I mean, I've been impressed by the intense nature of their game. You could see... You watch the game and you see a team that has a clear plan of how they want to move the ball, how they want to create chances, how they make use of the big man up front. And you see a player like Gelson Dala, how he makes runs into the box. See the goals that he scored in that quarterfinal game. Absolutely brilliant. And it's what's Angola has done that has impressed me the most.
Let's have a look at their numbers, and then I'll get Sednam to give a few thoughts on their statistics. So they scored 8, conceded 3, 1 clean sheet, and their top scorer is Gelson Dalla. So now this Angola, they look really surprising. Angolan teams of years past have had a lot of verve and life about them, but this team seems to have something very different if you compare them to previous Angolan teams.
Well, one thing that I would say that they really have is that energy. They can run for 120 minutes, and they seem to be proving it. And that's why Kwame said when they went down by a man in the previous game against Namibia, they still did not show, because that intensity and energy level was there. For me, their energy has been remarkable, their organization, and every single goal, we can go over the sequence, every single goal is a worked goal. It's not an one-man sequence.
Gifts or errors or mistakes.
No. Intentionally worked goal. Look at that through ball to create the first goal. Look at how many people it took out just by that pass. Look at I call it the EA Sports goal of the year so far. Mabululu.
The insane technique. Plays in Egypt.
If you even want to do that on a video game,
you can't even do it.
Look at the sequence that created the goal. Freddie, from their penalty box, look at the insane pass. Look at the layoff. That's crazy. These guys just... I'm even now surprised they did not really hammer the Black Stars during qualifiers, because they're playing some insane football. It's really, really remarkable. This is a team that, unfortunately, I would really like to see represent Africa at the World Cup.
I see. And the interesting thing, another story about them is that I think 6 of their players come. I think 8 of their players from Petro Luanda.
Yeah.
So it just tells you that if you can find a local team that's great, it's almost like you build your national team on top of that. It's like the South Africans, and we'll talk about them a little later. The other bit that has surprised and impressed, is the set piece. And Freddie's ability to whip it in always gives a threat. I mean, Gelson Dalla has scored 1 already. I think he scored another. Yeah. So that's a threat. So Nigeria should beware. Yeah. Set piece problems.
It's absolutely key that any team that plays them, I'm sure. Now there's video analysis that abounds. I mean, picking up all those little details about teams. And now, advanced or modern football sees set pieces as an opportunity, as some sort of a chance creation, because when you're able to, and now teams are hiring set piece coaches. I wouldn't be surprised there's someone in there within the technical ranks that is helping them or trying to create these scenarios for them. Because, I mean, to have this as an arm, and in your armory, I mean, to be able to get opportunities like this and score out of them tells you the level that these teams have got into. The African game is really developing.
Oh, yeah, that's why we love the AFCON. The quality is amazing. Let's move on to our next team, Cape Verde. I think they are the surprise package of the competition. Placed in a group that had Ghana, Mozambique, Egypt, and themselves. The Blue Sharks did not care. They bit their way through, literally, bit their way through the competition, and now they find themselves in the last 8. Let's see how they made it to this point of the competition. The Blue Sharks of Cape Verde getting to the last 8. And guys, I'm sure of the 8 teams that are here, nobody thought Cape Verde would make it.
I mean, even from the group that they found themselves, you had 8-time champions Egypt, 4-time champions Ghana, and you had Cape Verde, and you had the Whipping Boys, Mozambique. So if anybody would have given them a chance to even qualify, it would have been from the 3rd best route. But guess what?
They topped the group.
They topped the group. That Ghana couldn't win a game. Even Egypt couldn't win a game, had to go on with 3 draws in the games that they play. So it tells you now, you watch every single game that Cape Verde has played so far in these games, and you see a well-coordinated team. It's one central theme that I've seen in some of the teams. These teams that we didn't expect them to be there, the Angolas, the Cape Verdes, and all the other teams that have qualified, except for Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, because they have something extra. We'll get to them later.
Let's add South Africa to
the bracket of the organized teams. Now, you check the way they press. You see the goals they scored. and the cutbacks and all of that. See the number of players that troop to the box of the opponent now, and see how they quickly retreat to reorganize. I mean, their counter-pressing has been one of the best I've seen in the competition so far. The ability to regain the ball quickly. See what they did to the Black Stars. You see, Ghana, they scored first. Black Stars showed a bit more energy, came in, got an equalizer. The second half, tried their best. Now, in the dynamics of the game, Chris Hughton made some changes. Suddenly, Cape Verde felt that, they want to defend. No problem. We'll have a go at them. And that's how they kept persistent. They were able to identify the areas where they felt there were weaknesses, especially from our right back. All the attacks leading to the goal in that game came from the right back. Yeah. So this is a team that you have forward-thinking coaches, let me put it that way, always thinking on their feet, identifying areas in the game where they feel they can manipulate and then get results. And that's exactly what they've done so far.
Sadam, you made a point when Cape Verde played Mozambique, and 2 of the 3 goals they scored came from that point you made about the Mozambican goalkeeper being poor with long shots. And I credit to the Cape Verdeans for even seeing it and attempting shots from the first second.
For me, it's been interesting because every game they have approached it totally differently. You see the Black Stars, they were trying to pass it through. Let's get closer to the keeper and let's play it. For Mozambique, it was a shooting practice because someone is actually earning their salaries in the team. Someone in the technical team is going, so they actually seem to have scouts for this tournament and they are scouting the various teams they are going to come up against. How they played against Egypt shocked me.
They scored 2 very similar goals. They were cutting the ball into the
simple. And look at the number of, Kwame made mention, look at the number of Egyptians in the box before they scored the goal. It's those little bits, those intricate parts, that's what's pushing teams to the next level in this tournament. They're actually enjoying the tag as underdogs. So they look at you, okay, your professor is weak, we're going to target a side, we'll hit him. Okay, your goalkeeper is weak, we're going to target him. You have old laterals, we are going to hit at them and cut back. It's been interesting. So interesting. It shows how football is developing and how the big nations are now falling behind.
Yeah, true.
Football has become way technical and people are still depending on talent.
And then in the game against Mauritania, I think it was a matter of endurance. Who could outlast the other. And late in the game, they were there to pounce on a mistake. 1-0, and that's it. That penalty from Mendes, he was so much venge. I don't know what he was doing. Hard penalty, hits it down the middle. 1-0, you win a round of 16 games. I wonder how the Cape Verdeans might be feeling. There are times when, quote-unquote, small teams rise to a point and maybe the heights get too much for them. They start feeling dizzy. But in South Africa, they'll play next. And I'm sure they might be wondering, maybe last 4? I don't know. I'd love to see what they tell themselves in the dressing room. But guys, so Cape Verde, surprise package. We all agree?
Yeah,
surprise package. You've done really well. Let's move on to another team. Great African history, great African pedigree, but they haven't won an AFCON in God knows how long. DR Congo, very, very interesting country in terms of their style and approach and the mix of the skill and power. But they have found themselves in the last 8 anyway, and their last victim happened to be the almighty Egyptians. Let's see their journey to the last 8 of the AFCON. All right, the Leopards of DR Congo getting through without winning a game in regulation time. They beat the Egyptians 8-7 on penalties. But guys, if there's anything that's not surprising about DR Congo, is the 2 things I said, the mix of skill and power. And they've had that tradition for many years, and it still shows in their team. But they scored 3 similar types, 3 goals of the similar type, cutbacks.
Well, it tells you something is happening in training. You check the pattern of their play, and that's exactly what they do. They make use of their wingers a lot. Johan Wissa, and then I think there was this player, Elia.
That plays for Young Boys.
Exactly. He missed some chance in the Egypt game. I wanted Egypt out so bad. I nearly threw my remote control away. I mean, that's what they are trying to do, trying to use most of their wingers to create chances and all of that. They are very strong, and they have some very strong and technical midfielders who are there, but if you check the opponents they've played the North Africans twice, and these are teams that try to stay very compact, especially when they are defending their. So when you vacate these flanks for them, you've given them the opportunity, because Yohan Wissa has somehow settled very, very well in this team. They've also been able to get in some very quality players.
They have.
We have this term that we give to these foreign-born players. We call them coupe boys. or year of return boys. They've got a lot of year of return boys in the team to mix up with some of these guys. And that has given them some bit of advantage, going into the tournament. And they've added, because these are boys or guys who are well-trained technically from areas that they've been. They have players from Belgium, they have players from France. That's mixing up with the already established DR Congo sides and all of that. Now, remind you, DR Congo have won the competition twice, so former champions, they've got that pedigree also backing them and all of that. So they've mixed that experience and all of that. Chancellor Mbemba has been fantastic.
Ex-Newcastle, ex-FC Porto.
What more experience do you need? A very, very experienced player in there. So they have a mix of everything in that team at the moment. You see the grit, how much determined they are to be able to, advance. Their game against Guinea is one game I'll be really, really looking forward to.
Yeah, two very interesting
so
teams.
I'm not surprised at the points that they've gotten to. Sedinam is not obviously impressed with how they've gotten without winning any single game. But they are here. But that's tournament football for you. You have a strategy. Egypt went through last year's knockout stages without winning a game
in regulation.
All playing, how do you call it? Egypt
Portugal won the Euros.
Exactly.
Drawing how many games did they win in regulation time? Not a lot. About one or two.
When was the last time Egypt won a game in the AFCON? Check from, but that's tournament football.
So the
somewhere in the group stages in Cameroon. That was it. Since then, from that point on now, they've not won any game. But they found a way. Tournament football has a certain mind. It has a mind of its own. If you were able to develop a strategy and it works and it progresses you to the next stage,
you take it like that.
Sedinam,
you don't seem too happy.
For me, I really don't like their style of play, because they're a very frustrating team to play.
But they don't try to play. You have to give them that. Maybe they don't have...
If you give them the opportunity, they would play. Yes. Especially in the second half versus Morocco.
Yes,
they were given the opportunity and they played. Aside that, they can be very frustrating to watch. Even, I don't know how they manage to play, but it can be very frustrating to watch. They've got a lot of quality in the middle of the pack, which they don't even use. Kakuta is a very, very quality player. And for most of the players, this is their last showing at the AFCON. After this, they wouldn't be roped into the Congolese team again. So they've got to do their best. And they are doing their best by being the most frustrating team at the tournament. And guess what? They are going to meet another frustrating side. It is one game I personally would not like.
For all you know, I get your point. It could turn out to be a very frustrating thing, because you see, at this point of the competition, teams now start to think about everything. Look, one mistake, we are out. Let's stay alive as possible. They could also tell themselves, you know what? Look, let's just go at it and see what happens. But let's have a look at the Congolese numbers in terms of what they've done so far. So they've scored 3, conceded 3, one clean sheet, and they have 3 different goal scorers. Meshach Elia plays in Switzerland. Yohan Wissa, he plays for Brentford. And then Silas, the midfielder who came on in that game against Morocco. And you mentioned that second half. That second half was a very good performance, very dominating performance against the Moroccans. So that's how DR Congo look like. They've made it here without winning a game. But if you have a 24-team competition, that's what happens. You can qualify as one of the 3 or one of the 3rd best placed teams. Let's move on and let's... talk about Guinea, the other frustrating team, quote unquote, in this competition. They've had a very interesting run. Let's see their journey to the last 8 of the AFCON. All right, the Guineans, that's how they made it through to the last 8. They won the Guinea Derby, as some of my friends call it, Equatorial Guinea versus Guinea Conakry. They won that game by a goal to no. So now, let me start off with you. They also have had a very unique way into the last 8, but at least they won a game in regulation time.
Oh, yeah. And
they
for
beat
me,
Equatorial Guinea.
They are one team that would pounce on your mistakes to make you pay. for your discrepancies. And I'm sure if they had met Ghana, they would beat Ghana.
Why are we doing this to them?
No, because look at what they did to Cameroon. Just that mistake of someone refusing to balloon the ball, which we've had so many at the tournament. I will not be surprised they would have beaten Ghana convincingly. But yet again, it's been a good tournament for them. They were one of the dark horses, quote and unquote, for most people. But they've done their dark horse business in a really, really shady and dark way. For me, if you take out Bayo, the team is quite playable, but he's the star man of the team, seeming to do a lot of things for them. But hey, you need to give it to them. They are using their height.
Yeah,
they are using
physically.
They are using.
The Guineans have always been a very physical team.
That's true.
But it's quite that a team that getting into this competition, every eye was trained on Jurassic, and it was going to be Jurassic. Yeah. He hasn't featured that much, but they've made it here.
But there is one other person you've not mentioned. That's Naby Keita.
Yes, Naby Keita.
If you watch the last game that they played to qualify to this stage,
against Equatorial,
it was the game was so tactical to the point that it was locked. Like, you didn't know what any team was going to do.
The two coaches that kind of matched each other.
We've matched each other. Then the coach from Guinea just threw in a die, just like that. Brought in Naby Keita. Just go and watch the last 10 minutes of that game and see how Naby Keita took that game. I mean, when he had the ball, press resistor. I mean, you saw quality that made a difference. I mean, you saw, bar his injuries, you saw quality that made a difference. The way he picks the ball from the middle of the pack, the way he moves with the ball. So that's become some sort of a weapon for the Guineans. But for them, watching their first game against Cameroon, anytime I'm watching a game, I'm looking out for two things, especially in tournament. One, the mental strength of the team, and also how that leads to how resilient you become in games, and your ability to heed to tactical instructions. In a game against Cameroon, they took the lead. Some way, somehow, their captain found himself in a tackle that got him sent off in the game. Now, you would expect that coming up against a team like Cameroon, with all the pedigree and the level of quality that they have, Cameroon will just equalize and then just do whatever they can on them. And from that point, you could see a very well-organized Guinean side that decided to hold on. And they reduced Cameroon to just one shot on target. That was the equalizer, and that was it. Cameroon played about 11 shots. Aside the ball that entered the net, none of the balls were able to, get even close to the keeper. That tells you a team that is very well organized, a team that has a plan. I mean, these coaches do things in training that many of us do not, think about. They create scenarios. You go to training grounds and coaches are training with eight players, 8v10, 9v10, just to see how their teams fare against. And I won't be surprised. These are some of the things that are happening in their training grounds. So they were very tactical, and they are there with a local coach. So they have something in that team, very tactical, very difficult to break down, and also that's why I get said in their game against Congo. It's going to be very frustrating.
But, we've spoken about 3-4 teams, and a common line runs through all of them. The organization, the discipline, and the fact that a lot of these teams can mix it up. So they can defend really well, they can open up and play, they can hit you on the break. It makes you wonder, it makes me think about the Black Stars. I mean, just to digress, but how is it that Ghana can't seem to look like this? Right? In the tournaments where everybody has the same amount of time, you are camped in one place, one team looks completely out of sorts, and all the other teams look like they are very ready. I mean, just random thoughts. It makes you think about all of that. Interesting. So the Guineans are here. I just hope Jurassic gets himself into the competition. I have a soft spot for strikers, so I love it when strikers shine, but he hasn't. But the Guineans have done well. But good point on Naby Keita. Yeah. On a different note, it reminds me of a game Man United played against Liverpool. 1-1 at Old Trafford, and Adam Lallana scored. It was Naby Keita who turned the game round for Liverpool. He was pulled off the bench, and he absolutely conducted the 25 minutes or so he got. So the quality is there. The injuries have wrecked him, but I think in a 7-game tournament, it's short enough for him.
He's not even played much.
Yeah, it's good enough time.
He's become like a
Impact sap.
Like an impact sap.
I'm looking for a technical term. Some dye that they just throw in there. That's
like a gambit. You throw him in.
Just throw him in there. Because that's exactly how it happened. You just go back and watch that game again. It was locked. I mean, you could watch the game and you ask yourself, aside Insue missing that penalty, where was this goal going to come from? And that was Navigator in there, trying to pull the strings to, change. He just disorganized the whole, and that's what led to those passes for the cross for Bayo to be able to head
great
that
cross
ball.
from the right. I love the cross.
Because
before
the goal, Girassi tried something which was parried away from the same wing. And I was like, okay, now we are in for something.
So there's something changing.
Nice.
But great cross from the right to find
Bayo.
Great awareness of the area, hold the defender off, and still manage to head the ball. That's some Didier Drogba-like ability there. Let's move on. Let's talk about Mali. Now, the Malians in the last few years have been on the up. They've been turning heads with the football and the quality of players they have. And it's showing they've made it to the last 8 of the competition. Some people believe they've not been impressive. Others believe that this is the time where we'll see the real Mali or the Mali of the new age. But let's have a look at how they got to the last 8 of the 2023 AFCON. All right, the Eagles of Mali making it to the last 8 of the competition. Lots of people are expecting big things of Mali. Making the last 8, I think if you look at the profile of this man, making the last 8 is no longer a surprise. It's what they do from this point. But Kwame, your thoughts on what you've seen of them so far? In the last game, they beat Burkina Faso. They beat South Africa in the group stage, and they drew the other games.
Yes. Coming to the tournament, their coach made mention of something. He said he expects nothing, but he just wants the Malian team to be respected. And I think he's achieved that, given where they've gotten to right now. If you check the history of Mali in terms of youth football over the years, they've been doing some amazing work there. They've been also exporting some very quality talent to Europe and all of that. But one thing that has not got going for them yet has been how they bring everything together in a big tournament in Africa like that. And it's one thing that everybody had their sights set on Mali and what they will be doing in the competition. So I'm sure it's what informed the coach by saying that he wants his team to be respected. They are not coming into the competition, obviously, to see themselves as one of the favorites to win. Okay, but where they've got into should be a very good experience for them. They've played some very quality football. They have some very technical midfielders. Yaves, Besuma, the DM that plays for Ali, forgotten his name. I mean, they've had some very quality midfielders in there who you'd expect a lot from. You look at the quality of their development over the years, you'd expect Mali to do something more than we've always expected from them in previous tournaments. So I'm not surprised they've gotten to this point. A lot of people have expectations for them. And some way, somehow, they found their way to live up to that expectation. So it's good they are here. And as we preview the game against Ivory Coast, we'll just look into how that would be a very, very intense game.
The atmosphere will be fun, but I guess it will be two teams who play almost similar in terms of like the physicality. Now, the difference may have to be the quality. I don't know. Cote d'Ivoire neutralized Senegal's quality with physicality. Can they do same? I don't know. Edmond, for you, what do you think will be success for Mali?
Success for Mali would be a semi-final berth.
Yeah, but if they've made that quite frequently
because
in the last few years.
I feel, like Kwame said, they don't want to be counted as one of the favorites to win. That means what? You are here to represent, then represent us in the semi-final. That's
I see.
There's something missing in their development. They've had really, really good players coming through their ranks, but there seems to be something. There's something really missing.
You feel that missing element is what they need to move to the next level?
Yes. If the missing element is found, I think they would have even won the AFCON before Senegal did, because they've had a lot of great kids, quote unquote, young ones, young
2017,
lads.
they finished third. They beat Ghana to finish third.
Yeah.
And I think they finished third again.
Yeah.
So I get you. What do you think that missing quality is?
Well, maybe it has to do. It's not they are not technical. They are technical. Maybe they are not exporting a lot of talent to the right places. Just maybe. And it's not helping them keep up that level of immense quality. Imagine you have Yves Bissouma playing for Tottenham. Yeah. You have a couple other guys mixing up in the EPL. That would have been a different story.
Okay.
That would have.
So you feel that they need to have more players in that top bracket?
Elite teams. And it would really help them. Aside that, they've had great development, bringing in players throughout the years. They've had that conveyor belt, and it's constantly producing great players. But there's something missing.
I see.
There's really something missing.
I think that thing missing is a few more years together.
Yeah.
Playing together. One key thing has also been central to most of the teams that we've watched has been cohesion.
Yeah.
We talked about the Angolan team, Petro Luanda, cohesion. South Africa, Sundowns, cohesion.
Or even teams like, if you look at Cape Verde, not a lot of them play together, but they've played as a national team together. So they've been bad for a few years. They are now becoming good. So
cohesion. So if there is something missing, in my opinion, playing together for, let's say, 2 or 3 years more. So that's I really understand what the coach really knows exactly where they've got into. He says, okay, let's get ourselves respected. Maybe in the next competition, they might be ready.
Well, we'll say between now and the next one, they play the World Cup qualifiers. Exactly. We have our dear Black Stars for company. Yeah, look, it's I'm saying this because, you see, for Ghana, we are at a point that Mali's gone past where we are. Of course. We are like at Mali's level 5 years ago, where they were trying to get together. Yeah. And I think the experience in the AFCON, they'll carry that experience in the World Cup qualifier, and they will give Black Stars a hell of a time.
But if Black Stars get their things right, they can beat Mali.
That's Ghana is there for the TV now.
If Black Stars get their things right,
they can
a lot of marbles need to move. When the marbles move into and fall in that.
I mean, look, the only thing I'll say finally on Mali, shout outs to their striker, was Sinayoko.
Yes.
Scored 2 different times, similar goals, one with his left, one with his right, outside of the boot, and then did the Thierry Henry thing on the opposites. I love those kinds of goals. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Bafana. They are the other side that are surprised. I was watching Super Sport the day they beat Morocco. Yeah. Goodness. The chaos in the people were just excited. People were happy. But you can't force the South Africans. They've worked really hard to get here. And Hugo Bruce, a man I believe should have been Black Stars coach 4 years ago. Or 5
I know there's a story to it, right?
I've heard. Okay, maybe we'll discuss that off air. But let's have a look.
It's not for air.
It's not for on-air consumption. Right. Let's have a look at the South Africans. Bafana. In a group that had Tunisia and Mali and Namibia, they are very good friends. They managed to make it there. And boy, did they do a number on the Moroccans in the round of 16. Let's enjoy their journey to this point of the AFCON. All right, so South Africa getting through to the round of 16. That lovely free kick by Mokwena, I think. Brilliant free kick. I've heard people say, Bonu should have. That free kick is quality and he's beating any goalkeeper all in time. So that's how come the South Africans have made it here. We'll get into their story in a bit there, but we'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we look at the South Africans and then we zoom into the more elite company, if you like. We'll talk about Nigeria, we'll talk about Cote d'Ivoire, and then we'll start to preview some of the quarterfinal games in the ongoing AFCON tournament in Cote d'Ivoire. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV Shows, proudly brought to us by Bet Power. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan. Our show is brought to us by Bet Power. If you want to walk away with the biggest winnings, biggest payouts, and win with the best odds, Bet Power is your friend and your proud sponsors of this show on Citi TV. My guests are still here, Sedna Medmon and Kwame Inimbafo. Guys, we've seen the South African story. They had to come back from losing 2-0 to Mali and turn the campaign around, and they did in brilliant fashion. In the process, knocking out pre-tournament favorites Morocco. And now everybody's looking at South Africa and wondering if they could potentially, I don't know how far they may go. Kwame.
Well, you made mention of their journey, and you look at what they've been through over the period. I mean, after winning it in '96, there was a bit of a great period for them, and then
won it in '96, finalists in '98.
Yes, went to the World Cup in 2002. Ghana denied them an opportunity of qualifying in 2000. And since that period, we've not had the opportunity of seeing the great South African teams within this period. But I'm sure they've done a huge reflection and over this period, and they've asked themselves what has gone wrong. Because one, South Africa are not producing the elite talents that they would export to the world or to other parts of the world.
Think about how many South African players have made it outside.
I just can't.
Radebe, Benny McCarthy.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe you would ask Stephen Pienaar, who had a very good, time with Everton and all of those things. So there seemed to be a problem. Now, what they are deciding to do is how to grow their technical department in terms of coaching. See, I've always maintained this mantra, and I always say it in Chi: football, the Nwani coaching. It's as simple as that. So you look at the coaches that they've been producing over the last couple of years, winning the Africa, the Champions League, Super League, and all of that. Rolani Mokoena, we're just talking about him off air. You guys should watch or listen to Rolani Mokoena speak football.
Is brilliant.
He's just a brilliant coach. Pitsum Mosimane. These are... So you could see that there is something happening in there. Even Benny McCarthy is at Manchester United right now as part of the coaching staff. So it tells you how big they've been on that kind of development. Now, look at the team right now, coached by one of the former champions of someone who has won the 2017. And I listened to how he was even talking about his player selection. When he made mention of the issue that he doesn't care if you play for PSG, he doesn't care if you play for Manchester United or whatever team that you play for. But if you don't fit the idea of football he wants to play, there is no way he will call you. You can be the MP or you can be the president. If you recommend a player and it doesn't fit his style, he won't allow you. That's a coach who has laid down his marker and said that it is my way or no other person's way. And that tells you that, and you see it in their play, a coach that has an idea of the kind of football he wants to play and getting players in there to be able to fit into that idea that he's playing. Fortunately for him, he has a Sundowns team that has played together for some time and has decided that let me be smart about it. Let me pick them. Let me build my team around them. And let me find some players in there. When he was going into the tournament, he had issues with the strikers that were going to, play. And people were like, how are you going to get your goals? His idea has been that let me get a team that would play together. Some way, somehow, we'll find ourselves working our way up front. When we get there, and you see the way they progress the ball, you see the way they work their way forward. And that tells you that this is a team that is very well organized and playing according to the philosophy that the coach
like you said, they don't have an out-and-out. They don't have a Mabululu or a Gelson Dalla. Yeah. But they are here. Yeah. And all the goals have come from different places. This is attacking play. Temba Zwane, Sundowns, Pesita, ex-Sundowns player. And that chemistry from Sundowns is helping. Plus the great. And a lot of people see Sundowns and they think the football is nice. They are a very disciplined team.
Go and watch them.
Very disciplined team. And Edmond, let me get your bit on. Kwame was talking about development and how we do a horrible job at it. The South Africans are producing players who, the players are coming to. Two of their players played in the Olympic Games.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, it's becoming something special that they are doing. The South African League has always been one that we sit here in this country and look up to try and emulate. They don't get a lot of people even watching their games, but the game is
Sometimes growing. The games are played in empty stadiums.
It's growing. They are doing something right. In this case, maybe they don't have the excellent talent. Like I said, now talent is not it again. Talent is not it. You can juxtapose it against teams that have gone out. Let's take this South African team. Pick teams that have gone out.
Like Morocco.
Man for man, there's no way they match up. It takes us back to the organization. Hugo Bruce says, either play to my word or you are out. I don't care if you play for Sundowns, El Ali, you play for whoever, I don't mind. So that means he had a way he was going to play. Now that is discipline. You either fit in the style or you stay out. If you are not fitting in, you have no place in the team. He has a plan which he is just playing out. For him, at this point, I feel the South African team is living on additional air. They are just going with the flow. If they get eliminated, they are okay. It's just that the monetary aspect now seems to have kicked in because they've been told that win the tournament and split the money. Sorry, yeah. So just share it. We don't want it. So I feel that we being the country,
slash the FA,
slash
the sports minister.
Yes.
They don't need it.
They don't need it.
But that's a very interesting way to motivate players.
Yeah.
You don't tell them anything. Just say if you win, you get to share all the prize money.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very interesting way.
So they've entered that phase. Now it's all about, okay, let's play, let's turn up. So to be counted, you need to show up, and they are showing up at this competition so far. Let's just scrap the initial game where some way somehow they lost.
Well, it was down to their own doing.
Exactly.
But I think they turned it around. And for me, I think the performance, the strength of this South African team lies in the organization. Yeah. I think you guys have highlighted it. And that can be seen in two games. The final game against Tunisia and then the game against Morocco. Because it took a lot to stay in that Moroccan game up until when they went 2-0. Because, 1-0, the Moroccans could have come back. But they kept at it, kept the shape. And the more space they got, they played on the break and eventually scored that lovely free kick. Brilliant free kick from Mokoena.
For the free kick, there's no way any goalkeeper is getting that. Let's allow Bono to breathe. Now, it goes back again to something Kwame said, that set pieces are an opportunity for a team to actually get a goal. Mm-hmm. Look at what went into that particular set piece that has been everybody's talking about. The South Africans set up their own wall at a different side. And these guys also, they set up their own wall. Now let's play it. Where is the target? Who am I using? Whose head am I going to try and pinpoint this over? And he did it beautifully.
It was
and for the celebration.
After South Africa, you know that they'll give you all kinds. I've seen them do all kinds of dances and stuff. But the South Africans are here. They've made the last 8 of an AFCON for the first time in God knows how long. And we'll see how well they do. Again, it's a test of what they are doing. And like I said, shout outs to them in terms of the kind of players they are producing. And I think Vladimir Mokoena made a point. He said, if there's anything he would want to eradicate in South African football, is this over-glorification of players at a young age. And this was very rife up until very recently, South African football, where somebody plays 2 good games in the PSL, and hey, he's the next superstar. And they say that it kills a lot of players. And you can tell that also the players are very grounded, very disciplined. And
that's where you see that he is a man in charge of the team that has produced a lot more for this particular team right now. So they are very level-headed. They are very grounded. They have great education as to what to do exactly, and that's what we are seeing. It makes it easier for any team at the national team, every coach at the national team level, to pick that team because you can easily mold them to play a specific way for you in the tournament, and that's exactly what we are seeing.
All right, we'll see how far South Africa will go. Let's move on to what I call the elite category now. Let's start with the host, Côte d'Ivoire. They've experienced a roller coaster of a tournament, from winning the first game to losing the second game, to losing the third embarrassingly, thinking that they are out of the competition. Then they sack their coach. Then they take on the defending champions. And they've managed to appear on the other side of the tunnel. Let's see their journey. All right, so that was Côte d'Ivoire taking on Senegal in that last round of 16 encounter. Eventually, the Ivorians won 5-4 penalties. There was pandemonium in Abidjan. And it's a part I regret because I should have been there to enjoy the...
Why am I still in Ghana?
Look at this, to enjoy the pandemonium. Because I've experienced football in a francophone country. Look, this is not... I experienced the 2008 Champions League final in Benin. Yeah. This is between Man United and Chelsea. You should have seen the madness in Kuso. Just imagine the madness in Abidjan. Cote d'Ivoire has won a game.
It's crazy. Even before games, what happened in the country? I mean, before their game, we were in a mall, and I mean, they had set up this huge screen. People were having fun just before the game against Nigeria, and you could see the ecstasy, the sheer joy before the game. This is before the game.
Before the game. I see. Maybe when the tournament ends, we can. What I need to do is maybe put together a panel of everybody who went there and get different perspectives. And I think as a country, we need to think about creating the atmosphere, right? But two things. So one, aspiring to host such competitions. It speaks a lot to our own infrastructure drive, culture of maintenance, and all of that. And then how we can whip up a certain atmosphere. But that's a conversation for later. Yeah. Edmond, let me start off with you. The Ivorians have been giving, some people call it a third chance. So Morocco gave them a first chance. They took that chance against Senegal. They are alive in the competition. What have you made of their journey up until this point? Cote d'Ivoire, host nation, almost going out, but they are here, last 8.
Well, for me, they've been one of the most inconsistent sides at this tournament. How do you go from beating a Guinea-Bissau opening game? The atmosphere is right. Oh, people are chilling. And you go and beat. No problem. Now you come and mess up the Nigeria one. They give you that laxity that, okay, you met a big boy. You go and do what you did against Equatorial Guinea. For me, they've been given, like you said, a third chance. People hardly even get 2 chances in life, and you've been given a third chance. They need to start pulling things together in their team. I need to hand it to them. Their last game against Senegal was actually one of the best I've seen them in the tournament. Let's cancel out the first game where they beat someone 2-0. No. There was some form of purposeness, and they were playing to a certain kind of football. It's just that some of the people in the team do not seem to understand the kind
like of... Like who?
Nicolas Pepe is seriously wasting a lot of chances and needs to sit on.
But he was the one, he came off the bench, his industry got them a penalty.
His industriousness does not count in this case. He could have saved them a lot in that Equatorial Guinea game.
Okay.
He cost them a lot, and he has been given another chance. That's why he will now come off the bench. For me, this is one of the few games that they are going to have all their arsenals ready. And moving forward, they need to manage their talent and get the right people to play in the right positions. I want to say congrats to one of their best players of the tournament so far, Seko Fofana. He has transferred. How he did that during the tournament is unthinkable.
But you mentioned that Seko Fofana's story. You speak to people in Cote d'Ivoire. Before this competition, he was not really liked. He was not really, because a lot of people questioned his loyalty and his commitment. But it looks like he realized this was an opportunity to buy back some good faith, and he's done so. Kwame, your thoughts? You were in the country. You saw how people reacted to them. What do you think went wrong in the group stage? Of course, ultimately they made it, but how do you think they almost bundled, the fact that they were hosting, almost dropped the bag?
That's a good question. They won their first game. You would expect them to win. Now, then comes a test against Nigeria where they failed that test, and a more difficult test came in the game against Equatorial Guinea.
Okay.
And they failed that test again. Throughout these games, one of the key things you have to do when watching football games has to do with the body language, the chemistry between the players, how they react to adversity, or a setback, let me put it that way, in games and all of that. And it's one of the key things I observed. If you watch the game against Equatorial Guinea, you could notice the misunderstanding between some of the key players.
Okay.
Between Frank Kessié and Seko Fofana. Frank Kessié, and he was the captain of the team. What I felt they lacked was someone to remind them of the stage they were on, the competition they were playing, and where the competition was being played. And that is what MS5 tried to do. someone to invoke the national pride
He's an
in them.
ex-player, so
I mean, let them know. Because this MS5, he played in their first World Cup with them in Germany in 2006. So he understood what it means to represent the Ivory Coast. Now,
and just on the side, that team had to go through a lot
before they had to
make that World Cup.
Exactly.
They had to beat Cameroon. Is it in Cameroon? There's
Yes.
some crazy qualifier.
Exactly. You get the whole point. So they needed someone to just remind them of all of these circumstances or all of these things that they need to know that they are in their own country. Because when you speak to Ivorians, many times I spoke to Ivorians when I was there, and they are like, they believed in the Ghana team more than they believed in their own team. You can speak to our colleagues, and just speak to our colleagues randomly, and you get that vibe. Because perhaps Ghana has been to the World Cup, played in the last World Cup, they have failed to make the World Cup, the last 2 World Cups, and all of that. So they seem not to believe. Because someone was telling me a story there that, see, he was the person, the host family that took me. I was in the car and was driving. He started a random story. You know, there was some years back, there was this man who came, set up an academy, and then played these boys. These boys grew up, and I didn't know he was telling me about the team that went to the 2006 World Cup.
So he felt boys came from the
ASEC. So he told me Mimo.
That's their nickname, Mimo.
That's where that was when my mind quickly went to the story he was talking about. So he was randomly telling me about the story of how these teams came together and how they've deviated. They are now no more relying on that youthful team or the academy, the system that helped them build that team, and now it's become a lot of collective stars, bringing in Sebastian Haller, bringing in Jeremy Boga, bringing in Wilfred Zaha, you know, more like Frefre Kobo, bring the top stars.
Something
and then
we
come
can
in
all
there.
relate to.
Exactly. You get the whole point. So they needed someone to remind them that, hey, yes, it's Frefre Kobo, no problem. But know who you are representing. Know the country you are representing. And watch the game against Senegal. After the goal, they played them off the park.
That's true.
They brought in Jean-Michel Seri. In there, a senior player.
Yeah.
They brought in Max-Alain Gradel,
Yeah.
a senior player. No, that's all that MS5 did in that game. Remind them of what they are representing.
Yeah.
And you could see the commitment. Seri was just there dictating. Seko Fofana picks the ball, recycle, find a way. And they have this right, but they are cutting. You know, work the wings with Max Gradel. Max Gradel worked the socks off. Okay, we finished working them. Let's bring in the guys now. Then they brought in Nicolas Pepe. They brought in Adingra, Simon Adingra. And Sebastian Haller. Let's just show something. They kept pushing. Then that was when Frank Kessie also threw in Frank Kessie. Let's keep pushing. We've now brought in the experienced guys to show you what it means to play for the country.
I see.
Then
so you make a very interesting point about commitment, the love for the country, and letting that love show.
Yes.
And really, that's what it drove them through that very difficult game against Senegal, and now they are here.
That's it.
Wow.
So you see, if you don't understand what it means, playing for the national team,
it should mean something.
There's one thing I've always loved Kudus for, and until he changes, I'll keep loving him for. They asked him one time between the Champions League and the African Cup, which are you choosing? He didn't waste a second. He said the African Cup. And you know something? One day we would have to do an analysis of this, the national team and what it means to play for, especially at the youth level going for. You look at all the boys that have played are playing for the current national team. If you want to see the players that are very committed, they are the ones that have gone through the mill at the youth level because they understand. Yeah. Because at that level, when you play for the Black Stars, or when you play for the Satellites or the Starlets, and you go to the World Cup and you represent, you are young. Yes, me in the national jersey. And especially when you advance to, when you advance in the competition to the semi-final or something, the way we talk about you, it makes you feel that, oh, okay, so this is what it means when I play at the highest level for the national team.
And I'm happy you mentioned Kudus.
That's it.
Kudus came to prominence when he played in that
under 17 in India. That's how we got to know him.
The game that Ghana got eliminated, Kudus was Ghana's best player against Mali. So you can understand where the love comes from.
So you build, that's how it's built. You build that commitment, that love for the country, and with quality coaching, you're able to assemble a very good team. Ghana has benefited from the 2001 team in Argentina. That went to the 2006 World Cup. The 2010 World Cup squad had some of the players. I mean, there is a formula for Ghana, and we keep deviating. And that's what the man in Ivory Coast was reminding me of, what led Ivory Coast to their 2 World Cups that they went after they had assembled a very good team, which had been carefully prepared at the academy level and had gone through a certain level. Look at the names in there.
The Toure brothers.
Aruna Dindani. What's his name? Gili Yapi Yapo.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of them. You can mention
many
them.
years later, Gervinho came
exactly.
from So that's
what the man said. He said that they had this team and they sprinkled it with the likes of Didier Drogba, who had the education up there.
In France.
That's what you do. And that's so now you look at their current team, there's a lot of players coming from. So you don't see. Exactly.
Look at their goalkeeper. You know their goalkeeper for France? He was what? Was it under 20 keeper for France? Under 17 keeper for France?
Then he came in. So what
he only switched very recently. So for a lot of them.
What does Conor Isdorfer know when how does he feel playing for Ghana? Jeffrey Schlupp hasn't blossomed for Ghana because he comes in and he doesn't fit. Look at Alexander Djiku. It has taken him time. Go and watch the Jama sessions from the time he joined and the Jama sessions now. It's different. Because when he came, he was... Now he leads Jama. It takes time. You know, you need people to understand the pride, what it means to play for the national team. And that is what the MS5 brought out of that team the other time.
So now the Ivorians are here. I guess a reminder of, like Kwame said, where they are, who they are, the occasion. I guess they'll need a lot more of that to guide them through, because at this point it's one shot, one kill. If you miss, you're going home.
That's it. Well, for me, I feel that they might have just rediscovered it. So it would definitely ride them through this part of the tournament, because, listen, they've got arguably at this current level of the tournament one of the most complete, quote unquote, teams. Very balanced. We have taken out some of the balanced teams as well, but this is one of the very balanced teams. Absolutely. Really talented, really technical. So like Kwame said, if you've now found the pride, then you need to drive and take it on to the next level, because I feel they also rushed in sacking their coch.
I think it was the right thing to do.
Look at the circumstance.
It was the right thing to do. You needed that as a catalyst. Because no, you can't have Seko Fofana, Ibrahim Sangare, Frank Kessie
in one midfield.
Oh God, how do you feel?
He was playing to the gallery and adding up the names.
Sometimes you need it. I mean, sometimes you need someone to invoke. And I don't know what is going to stop them. If anything is going to stop them, I don't know. They need to rediscover.
Maybe a lack of quality. Maybe they don't play a performance.
But they've really got quality. They really got quality at this level.
You have Christian Kwame. You have Sebastian Halle. You have Jeremy Boga. No, these are players who are, show some level of quality. You just need to find a way to piece it together.
Jeremy Boga, I was delighted to see him in the opening game. He really disappointed. He's one player I really like watching, but he really disappointed me in the first game.
That's where the cultural fit thing comes in.
Yeah, it's true.
That's where the
if you don't quite understand the cultural fit, there's no connection.
That's the whole point. The cultural fit thing.
All right, let's move on. Let's just give me a second. Let's talk about Nigeria. Of all the teams at this stage, you can call them the most elite. You can call them that African football royalty, producing quality players every now and again. They have had a very interesting journey to the last eight. Let's see how they got here in the competition. All right, the Super Eagles, they've flown their way through the competition and they are here. Interesting journey. Said now they've been on. So they beat the host nation. Then they beat the mighty Cameroon. Of course, this Cameroon aren't so mighty anyway, but it's Cameroon nonetheless by 2-0.
And they drew a very odd match as well, where we were expecting them to actually pull up. They decided to just chill and be calm. I have to say that their coach has really tried.
What's his name?
Jose Pizarro.
Not the most liked man in Nigeria
at all.
Yes. They don't like him because they want the fans back home want him to play a certain way.
Yes.
And he also feels that he's in a tournament setting and he's got to play what would get results. And I think he found that in the Ivorian game where they decided to literally park the bus. We don't have a midfield. We have quite a number of defenders. You park the bus, you just distribute your attacking force evenly on the pitch, and then let's have a go. Come at us, we take the ball, we run at you, and it has been their story since then. Okay. For me, that's what's working for them, and Cameroon did not seem to have gotten the sheet. They did not get it early. They had all the ball, could not penetrate, could not do anything. You have this Nigerians just take the ball and just run at them. Look at the first goal. You're a defender. Come on. If he's blocking you off with the arm, take one for the team. Take one for the team. You didn't. You allowed them to score. And for me, Nigeria have really grown into the tournament. And as it stands, they are looking like odd favorites to win this particular one. But hey, it's been a good tournament for them. They've been promised a lot of financial...
Nigeria will always do that.
Cash back home. So now they've gotten to the stage of the competition where they need to show. I have a problem with their strikers, but that's a problem.
What's the problem with... Why, they aren't scoring enough?
No, they are not scoring enough.
I see.
That's why the Nigerians have a problem with Pesero.
That they aren't scoring enough. Kwame, I don't know what you make of this. Did you expect a lot more attacking verve from the Nigerians?
You look at the big chances created in the tournament so far, and they are up there in terms of big chance creation. So you said Inam has a problem, I understand. They've missed some glorious opportunities, especially in the first game against Equatorial Guinea. Nigeria should have won that game by 4 goals or something, because if I check the chances of Seaman himself missed so far. Has he scored a goal yet?
Yeah.
He scored just one goal.
He has one goal.
But
in that game?
Yes. He's showed a lot more quality, the kind of striker he is. I mean, he's playing selflessly, bringing in a lot more of his attacking colleagues to Ademola Lookman. You see the first goal against Cameroon, the work that he had to do to create that space for Ademola Lookman to score and all of that. So people do have an issue with Pesero. I mean, the kind of football that he's playing. But this is tournament football. Okay, he has realized. You see, coaches do the SWOT. The strengths, their weaknesses, the opportunities, and their threats. They all do all of this. Everyone going into an organization will do those things to be able to know where our strength lies, where our weaknesses lie, and all of that. So the coach has been able to do that. He's realized that, okay, I have a very good attack. But in tournaments, the one that concedes the least goals and scores just one more wins the game, right? How many goals have they conceded? I think one or two. They considered the Equatorial Guinea game. Have they considered a goal again?
None. No.
That's it. So you see the pattern.
Yeah.
You see exactly what he's doing. Let's find a way to stay in the game. We have a very good attack where we're able to structure ourselves very well. You see even the midfield he parades. He's parading the most experienced in Onyenka in there. He lost Wilfred Onye in Didi. Now there's this other guy, forgotten his name, that has come in there to replace Ndidi. He has a Muslim name, forgotten. Sadiq or something. Yeah. He has come in there to hold that midfield. Now there's Onyenka in there. Added the boy from Fulham now, Okocha's nephew. Iwobi. Yeah. You get it.
Who I find, he's a very interesting player, Iwobi.
What position does he play? Very, very complex.
He's evolved from this wide player to a very good
central midfielder. I don't know whether he's an attacker. He's found a way. But that shows you his level of industry. He's one player who keeps running and never stops running. Really so Pesero has just found a way to galvanize this team. And it's given the Nigerians some level of confidence that, okay, this is what we are going into. I feel they've not met a team that is so technically strong and that runs that much so far. And that is why I'm so interested in that game against Angola. I'm very interested.
The Angolans possess all of that, the physicality, technical quality. They run a lot.
It will be a test for Nigeria. I think it will be a very, very huge test for Nigeria.
I think they've considered first for the very first game. Apart from that, they haven't.
So that's how the Nigerians are right now. The coach understands the assignment. I mean, You look at all that, creating a very good, and you see how he's created an environment for the press in the country where he allows them to interact with the players. I mean, he understands what he needs to do. He's someone who say he's gotten them to his side.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you? When the Black Stars, when the press in Ghana will be concealing the players and trying to, calm them somewhere and I'll not allow anybody interact with them.
The media blackout on our end was
it
just
makes
not
absolutely no sense.
It was just not
and not
on.
just on the media, but also on the fans. Anytime they come, how many times when I was young and I go to Kumasi to watch? I used to watch the Black Stars. That time before the World Cup, I'll run from school. Black Stars is in town. You go to the stadium because that's when I get to see Sami Kufuor for the first time. That's why I get to see some of these players. So that connection is there. That's what this FA is forgetting that. What they are, how am I digressing? That the Black Stars we enjoyed, in the Kumasi support they enjoy, it was built because it was access. Yeah. Every training grounds we are there, we are enjoying with them. You get it? So that's it. So that's what Pissarro has done with this Nigerian side.
True.
I mean,
and he's played the politics well because, like I said, he's not the most liked person.
He's not liked. He's not liked.
So if you can get the press on your side,
do a survey right now, and he's not liked. You have not just traditional journalists. Even the YouTube media, there's this football fans tribe. They are also there. They all get the opportunity to interact with the players and also have that access. So that's how you try to get the best out of these people. And their training access. Even the foreign media have access to their training.
It's true. Ghanaian football journalists have interviews with Nigerian players and none with Ghanaian players. Just says a lot, really.
So that's how they've gotten to this.
But talk about the attack, just going back to that theme, said Namire. So there's Osimhen. He scored once. Yeah. But he's bringing others in. Ademola Lookman has 2, and he scored that against Cameroon. Yeah. I guess, is that the formula? Should Pissarro now look at the others and say, look, everybody's looking at Osimhen. Maybe these guys, Simon Moses, and these other guys, maybe you guys will have to start scoring the goals just so it relieves Osimhen, just so now teams will have other problems on their hands.
Well, it's been interesting to see Lookman score goals at this tournament where, personally, I did not think he was going to score much because of the whole attention around Osimhen. But looking at how Osimhen plays, it's going to be very difficult for him to score a lot of goals at an AFCON. Because of the physicality. When he jumps, the defenders would out-jump you and match up to it. You want to be physical. That's why I'm surprised that the Cameroonians allowed him that much space to do what he did. But it's just right that the other attackers come in and then change the way they play their football. We've had this conversation before, and I think it will be difficult, but in one of the games, Osimhen should try and come off early for Murphy to come in.
Okay. You feel that the Nigerians should try another dimension?
Yes, because when Murphy is swift, he's quick, he's tall, he's physical, but he adds a different dynamics to their game because they now want to hit people on the counter with that odd long ball. And he is the prime attacker on their bench waiting to be deployed for that particular role.
Okay.
But for the others, I feel this is their tournament. They should just, for the time being, feed off Osimhen to get those goals running. Lookman's role in the team has also been changed. Hence, he's scoring more goals as well.
Yeah. So in the game against Equatorial Guinea, he played off the left. Yeah. In the game against Cameroon, played on the right. Yeah. Scored, well, almost central, if you like. Almost central. Right central.
I mean that's been smart from Pissarro. We are not here, and Osimhen too has been quite selfless with regards to that. I'm not here for glory. I'm here for national glory. I'm not here for personal glory. I'm here for national glory, and that's the most important. Yes, exactly. That's the most important thing. I mean, I may score the goals, but it's like Rasmus Højlund scoring 5 goals in the Champions League, but United is at home. I mean, what use is it for me to get personal glory? Than the national team not. So I've come to like him for that part of his game. Yeah, he's made some glorious chances, but having that selflessness to bring your other attackers into play, that's been very smart of them from the Nigerians. So you are not only targeting Osimhen right now. Now you are confused. Osimhen is bringing other people in. So who am I going to target? Target Lukman? Target? It creates a lot of questions for the opposition coaches to answer.
All right, is it Nigeria's competition to lose? Is it Nigeria's competition to lose?
It's between them and then the Ivory Coast.
It's between them and
yeah. If they had a much more formidable DM, I'd have gone outright yes. But with this team, it will be the most defensive play with the most attackers to win a trophy. Okay. That would be the formula.
Is it their competition to lose?
God, my heart. God knows that Nigeria shouldn't win for my sake.
For your sake, I know.
But I mean, that's on the side. I mean, but being more serious, you look at the direction that this team is going, and you can't help but think that they are on the very right path.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they win or die. But I won't be surprised if they win. I won't be surprised at all. But because
let's have a look at the qualification tree again. If we can display that graphic again, just to give us an idea of the potential paths for the teams. So Nigeria are on the left side of the draw.
Yeah.
If they go past Angola, they take on the winner of Cape Verde, South Africa. So that's on this side of the draw. Now, Cote d'Ivoire on the other side of the draw. If they go past Mali, they take on the winner of DRC and Guinea. Yeah. So we could potentially have a Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire final. Potential. Any mix is possible. Yeah. Any mix is possible. Nigeria on one side, Cote d'Ivoire are on the other side. We'll see. If you take out those two, just imagine if any of these other countries get through. We could have an AFCON semi-final with like South Africa.
There's been the South Africa, Nigeria semi-final brewing somewhere. That Amapiano thing. And
yeah. It's true.
There's also another one.
Afrobeat versus Amapiano.
So that's also another thing.
So that is true. This other side, really, you don't really have much. But what I will say, though, on the other side of the draw, Cote d'Ivoire side, if you watch it carefully, there are 3 West African teams. Yeah. 3 West African teams. So it looks like a West African team can potentially make the final. Yeah. Potentially make the final.
The chances are high.
The chances are high. And then it's more diverse on this other side. 1 West African, 2 Southern African teams, and then 1 team in the sea somewhere in Cape Verde. I think you can classify them West African as well if you like. So very interesting dynamic of the draw. Yeah. Very interesting dynamic of the draw. So if Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire will meet, it looks like it will be in the final. Yeah. Looking at what's going on. Yeah. If they'll meet again, it will be in the final. Interesting stuff there. Wow, that's why you like African football. That's why the AFCON 2023 is a great competition. You're also watching the AFCON Daily Show. My name is Nathan Kwasho, brought to us by Bet Power. My guests, Kwame Bafo and then Sednam Edmond. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we dive into the last topic of the day. We are talking about VAR. Everybody's been talking about VAR, how well it's been used. We'll get into some of the incidents. We'll talk about VAR, its use, and why it has been done or why it has been implemented very, very well in this competition. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. My guests are still here, Kwame Bafo and Sednam Edmond. The show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want the biggest wins, biggest payouts, the best odds, Bet Power, that should be your platform. Even through the rest of the competition is now intense, so the stakes are high. So if you want to walk away with some good money on your bets, then Bet Power should be your best friends. Let's move on to the final topic. Guys, VAR. In other places, VAR is seen as an enemy and people want it out. But in the AFCON, people have been very impressed with what they've seen. I don't know your thoughts. Sednam, let me start off with you.
I've been really, really glad that this represents Africa. Africa has taken a technology that was not invented here and have bettered it, have even taught those who invented it how to actually use the technology. This goes to show that the whole semi-automated offside system, let's ask ourselves, is it really needed? Seeing what we are seeing so far at the AFCON. you can juxtapose it even against games that went on yesterday, VAR calls. Look at what's happening in the tournament. And for me, listen, I just have to hand it to them. They have been good.
Okay.
Officiating at this tournament has been one of the best I have seen at an AFCON.
Okay.
Which is a weird thing as an African to say about officiating. But we've got to give credit where it's due. We always complain about officiating at AFCONs, but for now, look at the various incidents and how they have been, the time at which resolutions have been reached has been really, really fantastic.
Okay.
And the quality of the decisions after seeing whatever happens on the monitor is class.
Kwame, why do you think the officials have scored high marks? Because other people use the same VAR. They don't seem to get the same great reviews. What is it about the referees? What have they done right in this competition?
There is video evidence in the first place. Referees have to make real-time decisions on the pitch every single time an incident happens. Okay, so sometimes it's a handball, you don't see it quickly, and then something happens. Then you are confronted with the video evidence for you to see for yourself what should have been the decision.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get how difficult it is for even referees from other parts of the world that we've been watching, and make it. Sometimes I am inclined to believe that it's all part of their strategy to make their product get more talk or other things, forgetting that it's hurting other teams. So I'm not actually surprised at what we've done at the Africa Cup of Nations, where I'm confronted with the video evidence of the ball hitting the hand. The Morocco versus South African game. The ball, we all saw that the guy had stretched his hand, made himself bigger. The ball struck the hand. What is there to counter against that? It's clear enough. So I'm not surprised that we've gotten all the decisions spot on and right. I mean, the video evidence is there for us to all to see that. Make the correct decisions and let's move forward. So I'm very much impressed that we've stamped our authority on that, made the right calls to create less. Because already, look at the way, I think there was one incident, and go and see the way the Daily Mail reported it. AFCON, that was the penalty, there was this penalty, I've forgotten, one of these games. AFCON penalty, the Ivory Coast versus Senegal penalty.
Yes.
It says the AFCON referee, that's the tag, AFCON referee fails to spot something until VAR intervenes. I mean, VAR has given us an opportunity to, and we've made the right decision. But you see the way the report is being tagged and all of that. So imagine we're making very bad calls to it. It's going to, So I think one of the key things CAF has decided to do is to make sure that we make the right decisions. We make use of the technology and use it very well. Now everybody in the world is talking about how the VAR is being used at the Africa Cup of Nations. It's become a talking point up to the point that we are sitting here discussing how great the VAR is being used. I hope you get where all of this is going. I mean, it's part of I'm sure it's a deliberate PR thing by CAF to just create a positive image about the competition to the world. And I'm very happy that we are being discussed in a good light other than any other.
Yes. All right, guys, maybe you can give me a few examples of your favorite uses of VAR in this competition. Now, let me start off with you. Which incident or incidents can you mention off the top of your head and say that the fact that VAR did a good job in your opinion?
2 red card events. I think that was the red card that saw in the Cameroon game. Is it Cameroon? The first Cameroonian game they played, there was a red card incident.
Okay.
And that for me was spot on.
Okay.
You go in like that, you have to take
Guinea.
Cameroon Guinea.
The captain of Guinea getting that red card.
It was a solid red card for me all day. And even the penalty Persital missed. That whole sequence, great. it's not now they are going to turn it to a different angle. Just one angle, the ball is hitting his hand. What else is there? Like, listen, I just love VAR at this tournament. No, I just love it. And the instances are there and there. Even the Amrabat incident.
Yes.
That was very dramatic.
Yeah.
Because he had given you a yellow
Yellow
card.
card.
Well, I was wondering, what was the guy going to check again? He was like, okay, you come. Yellow card, no. Red card, get off the pitch.
I mean, like, it's for people might not understand, but those two cards are two different things.
Yes.
Okay.
Two different things. Double yellow stands for something else. Your suspension is different. Straight red is different. So he needed to stamp that authority, and it was right. And there have not been any dubious offside calls. Oh, Nick.
I see. Kwame, you?
Mine would be the Cameroon-Nigeria game, the first goal.
Yes.
You see, many people miss that offside rule. The moment the keeper comes, he becomes part of the outfield players. There was one player in there. That player becomes a goalkeeper or something. And so that whole decision, many people miss that kind of call. For VAR to be able to come in and make that right call at that point to cancel that goal, I mean, it was spot on for me. Those are the things that create debates for people to talk about. Why is the player?
I remember when it first happened.
Yeah.
This was in the Champions League final in Paris. Liverpool, Real Madrid. Real Madrid scored a goal. Yeah. And people were wondering why the goal was ruled out for offside. And then the explanation came that there was a player on the line.
Yes.
Alisson Becker was out. That player had now become a goalkeeper.
So those are the things that provide education. I'm sure a lot of people will be arguing. People who perhaps are not watching the Champions League like yourself and myself. That's a goal. That should stand because the goalkeeper, blah, 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 and all of that. So all of those things coming in, creating that level of education. I mean, it's the best use of VAR for us.
Since we're talking VAR, what about officiating? What have you made of officiating? Said now I'll get your thoughts.
It's been very good. I haven't had so much issues with officiating. I mean, obviously there will be games where the referees are whistle happy or card happy, just flashing out the cards. I like how they've cracked. You know, one thing I've really loved about the AFCON referees, how they've not cared about their stars. How they've...
the Gabonese referee versus Mohamed Salah.
And there's even one... You know, I felt that was what the Egyptians were trying to do. You guys should find a clip and play. There was this one between Hegazi and then the referee for the game against Congo. They kept exchanging.
Yes,
I don't know if you've seen it.
At the start of the game.
I think the extra time.
So the ref tosses the coin. He's trying to determine the side people will be playing to us. And I'm Hegazi is
trying to talk down the referee. The referee you have to keep quiet. Listen to me or something. Then the referee,
he's asking to shake the referee. The referee doesn't even want to shake his hand.
I mean, the referee, you could see. So it's how the referees have attempted to stamp the authority and not allowing the game to go out of hands, out of their hands. Because when a game is ongoing, the referee in the center of the field is the man that wields all the authority to ensure that the game is played in a very orderly manner. So these referees have not allowed themselves to be bullied by these stars they equally watch on the television, playing in big teams, in the Champions League finals and all of that. They tell you that we can officiate the World Cup. So, I mean, our referees in Africa are making a very good case for themselves to be able to, have the opportunity. And we've also had our Ghanaian referee there, Daniel Lai.
Yes.
He's been brilliant. I mean, he was a VAR referee for the last game, the Morocco versus South Africa game. All the VAR decisions that were spot on. Shout out to Daniel Lai.
Every time I hear Daniel Lai's name, though, I inadvertently think about referee J. Olamte. Why? Because Daniel Lai was his assistant the day he gave that very infamous ghost penalty that got the South Africans talking and eventually led to J. Olamte's, you can call it demise if you like, or getting kicked out of the refereeing thing. So shout out to Daniel Lai. I don't know whether he's watching the show. Shout out to Daniel Lai. Very, very good referee. He went to Accra Academy, by the way. Let's put that on record too. He did. So the officiating has been great. I guess from this point onwards, it becomes the standard, and CAF will have to improve on that. You mentioned, referees have the authority. What has it been down to? Is it CAF getting quality referees coming from the country? Is it a policy that has been put in place? Can anybody hazard a guess? Because previous AFCONs have been really littered by very, very horrible officiating.
For even officiating officials ending the game before 90 minutes.
Yeah, Yannis Sikazwe, my favorite referee of all, Yannis Sikazwe.
The famous one.
A lot of excuses for him.
So they had heat stroke. So couldn't follow them. But guys, what do you think is just down to this high quality referee?
I would say it's two things. Like you said, quality from the countries themselves,
okay,
and then the policies as well. They have to go hand in hand to get such delivery on the do I say continental stage, or at this point international stage? Because if the quality is not good, you'd have all the equipment ready. You'll be making wrong calls. We are seeing it. People have the same and even better by making horrible decisions. We are making do of what we have, getting the right referees from the right countries in this case. Quality has been top notch. I just have to give it to them. Okay. And the way they have put the whip down, even on the officials, the coaches, I have to give it to them.
I see.
I have to give it to them.
I can't help but agree. I mean, the quality of the officials themselves, I mean, the quality comes with your ability to apply the rules, because there are strict rules to how the game should be. Even discretionary, calls, the referees have, to a large extent, gotten it right. So that's with the quality and the policy. I mean, giving them the opportunity to stamp the authority without anyone undermining them. I'm sure, players or team officials go through pre-tournament training, briefings, and all of that. And I'm sure it has been made clear to them that there is no way we would allow anyone undermine the authority of the referees. Now, even with dissent, 2 minutes, 2 seconds into the game, any dissent at all, a yellow card will be flashed. So players are gradually getting accustomed to that and all of that. So it gives the referees the opportunity to that. So I largely agree with Sedinam on that.
But, just thinking about Daniel Lai, I'm sure we want to have more quality, more Ghanaian quality represented at that level. And I hope that he inspires referees who are down here, that it is very possible to get up there, to get up there and be part. So look, we hope that the FA will do what it can. It will work with the Referees Association. Let's get better referees coming through. Let's train them better. Because if you look at the heights that Daniel Lai and co have attained now and in years past, it is very possible for Ghanaian referees to get to the highest level. And for us, it's a source of pride.
Of course.
Ghanaian referees.
But one thing you would credit Daniel Lai for has to be with a personal responsibility to develop himself to that level. I mean, there's what the federation would do. But you watch Daniel Lai every single time. He's taken it upon himself to develop himself to a world-class referee to be able to officiate at that level. So the referees in Ghana, we see your calls on the GPL every single week.
Dodgy.
Every single
dodgy
week.
Straight.
We see your calls.
Dodgy
the calls
straight.
that you have been making, those little penalties, dubious, we see it every day. If you don't fix it, they won't call you. You'll be a local champion.
All right. We'll wrap it up in a few minutes. Let's go back to our fixture tree once again. Let me see if I can squeeze out some predictions from the guys as the quarterfinals roll by. I don't know if you have the fixture tree, the last 8, the tournament tree. If we have it, let's put it on. Yes, there you have it. It's one of my favorite pictures or graphics from the AFCON. All right, guys, let me squeeze predictions from you now. Who does what? Sednam, let me start off with you. Let's start from the top. Nigeria, Angola.
Difficult one to call, but this is going to be very, very unpopular out there. Angola might just...
The Nigerians won't like you.
That's why it's a difficult...
So you think Angola?
Just...
Be bold and say Angola.
Yeah, Angola might just edge it.
Kwame?
Angola.
I see. For personal reasons.
Yes.
What about Cape Verde, South Africa?
South Africa.
South Africa.
You go for South Africa?
Yeah, South Africa.
All right, the other side. Mali, Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire straight away from me.
I like that.
Penalties.
Penalties.
Yeah, penalties.
Who will win?
Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire to win on penalties. So 2 penalty shootouts. They'll be fighting against history.
Yeah.
Because the trend is that if you win one shootout, you lose the other. Italy are the only country I know. In terms of, they won one and beat England in the other one. Anyway, and DRC Guinea.
One of them, the games I don't want to watch.
For you know, it could be exciting.
I'll say Guinea.
Oh.
You say Guinea.
DRC.
DRC. Penalties, no. Regulation. Extra
Penalties.
They win on
DRC.
penalties again.
Yeah,
So
I think it's going to be a very tactical game, just as the Equatorial Guinea game.
Okay.
DRC, Egypt's game. These teams would lock it. They would lock it.
I see.
Something would likely happen. I think the DRC would
Okay.
win at the
All
end.
right. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming
Thank
back.
you
Thank
so
you very
much,
much, Sedna
Nathan.
Medmore. Thank you out there for watching. The guys have shared their predictions. We wait to see what will happen as the tournament continues on Friday, right? Tomorrow. That's when all right. So tomorrow is when the action in the last 8 will start. It will play through the weekend, probably Monday. We have an idea of that. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the quarterfinals of the 2023 AFCON in Côte d'Ivoire. This has been the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Karshaw, proudly brought to us by Bet Power. We'll catch you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.